It's fall in Texas, which means we've gone from an average temperature of 95 degrees all the way down to 85 degrees. And with this extreme temperature change, all of my cars have decided to remind me that they want more air in the tires, which is unfortunate because my air compressor has decided to remind me that it's leaking. That hissing noise isn't supposed to happen. That air is supposed to be inside the air compressor. So today, Zero to Awesome, we're going to use $10 of parts to fix our air compressor. And if this is successful, I have something a little special brewing up on the 3D printer to make my air compressor use and tool organization a little bit easier. So there's air leaking out of this little adjustable regulator on my air compressor. Did a little research online, and for about $10 I ordered a seal kit to rebuild that regulator. And when I was doing this research, turns out this seal kit and this regulator is probably the most common regulator in the world. When I looked up the model of my compressor, this one specifically, it's a DeWalt D55-168. I had that memorized. When I looked it up, this seal kit applies to hundreds and hundreds of compressors made by all different companies. There's a good chance if your regulator is leaking, this is the repair that you need to do. And while all of that air bleeds out of the compressor, we're gonna get just a couple tools that we need. We're going to need an adjustable wrench. We're going to need a small pick to get the seals off without damaging them. And we're going to need, specifically on my compressor, a couple of Torx bits. And I think that's all we need, 3 tools. Our regulator is exposed, we need to take it apart. I feel like the safe thing to do. Before doing that, would be to unplug our compressor and safely and very loudly let all the excess air out. My regulator is held on to the feed line coming from the tank with a crimp connector. You don't have to cut this off and do this on the workbench. Because I am a benevolent YouTube creator, I'm going to cut this off and do this on the workbench so you can see what I'm actually doing. I'm also 99% certain I actually have the right tools to put a new crimp connector back on. When I say 99%, I mean like 50-50 I have the right tool to put this back on. But let's get cutting. With our adjustable wrench, we're going to loosen up the big nut on the back. And the spring didn't go flying. And we're gonna drop out a little needle valve. Same thing, adjustable wrench on the front. Be careful on the front because this is plastic. So we're gonna very carefully loosen this up. With our old regulator taken apart, you can see our kit looks to have all the right pieces. We've got a slightly less corroded spring, a slightly less corroded perch for the spring on the back, a slightly less corroded valve. We've got the right gaskets that fit where they need to go. And I just used my pick to take these things apart, and I think I found our leak on this little disc here. That's cracked. And the seals aren't that great. These things are surprisingly more corroded than I would have thought. That might mean I need to drain and lubricate my air compressor more often than the current schedule, which is never. I'm going to use my tiny little bag of lube to lubricate all the parts, get everything reassembled. I am concerned that this plastic washer is thicker than the one that was already in the air compressor. I did see online someone was rebuilding one of these and had the same issue, and they just used the old one. I can't use the old one because it's cracked, and I think this is what was leaking. So we'll see how this goes. Do you remember when I said I was fairly confident I had the right tool to recrimp that hose? I am no longer fairly confident I have the right tool to recrimp that hose. No. No. Oh, bingo! This is a PEX high pressure crimp fitting. I feel like a hose clamp would probably work as well too, but this holds 200 PSI. I don't know what the PSI on a hose clamp is, so I guess we're putting the original PEX crimp fitting back on. Yeah, if anything, this one's beefier than the one that was on there before. The regulator is reconnected. We're actually going to run it for a while, make sure we don't have a leak before we reassemble everything, because if I reassembled it right now, we definitely have a leak. Good news, still leaks. We're gonna work on this and be right back. Hi, future Alan here, because we are doing things out of order. We had a little bit of a development. I got everything reassembled. I got my leak fixed. It turns out the crimps I had too small of crimps, I had too big of crimps. So we went without the crimp tool and we just moved on to hose clamp guy. And hose clamp guy here fixed our leak. But once I fixed that leak, I couldn't adjust the regulated pressure. So whatever the tank pressure was, 200 PSI, that's what would come out of the regulator. So I started doing some research online, and it seems like that is a very common problem. This kit, this $10 Amazon kit, and you can't seem to find the OEM. I can't find a DeWalt kit, so I'm stuck with these $10 aftermarket repair kits. The little disc that goes inside is too thick, and people say that disc that's too thick, it doesn't let you adjust the regulator. And so what people say they do is they take the old disc and just put the new seals on it and they use it. But my problem is my old disc here, that's what's broken, that's what's cracked, that's what's causing my leak, so I can't do that. So I used some scissors and razor blade knife and file, and I made my old disc as close to the size of the new one as I possibly could. So hopefully this works. I might have to take it out and do some more sanding, but let's reassemble again and see if my leak is stopped, which it should be, and if I can actually change the pressure, because one pressure compressor isn't gonna work very well. Look at this. We can actually adjust our pressure now. We go left, we go down, we go right, we go up. So I would say, unless you can find the original, the OEM replacement parts, and you're buying the $10 Amazon repair kit, you're gonna have to do some cutting to make the disc that comes with the repair kit probably about pretty close to the same width as the one that came out of your machine. Unless yours isn't broken, you can just put a new gasket on this old little disc there. But it's working. I'm gonna reassemble it, and then we're gonna take a look at, well, secret bonus item number 2. Secret bonus item number 2 starts with a bit of a confession. That confession is I really don't use my air compressor very much. I use the very rarely occasional nail gun or pneumatic stapler. I use it to inflate car tires all the time. I do use it for that. Every once in a while I use it for a paint sprayer. In fact, most painting I've done lately, I've used my Graco airless sprayer. I don't use it for sanders. I don't use it for torque wrenches, torque impact guns. I use all the battery power stuff for that, just because I'm not doing very heavy duty stuff. And the 3 most common tools, the ones I actually do use, are my little Vortex air thing right here. It's really good for getting dirt out of cars, getting sawdust off of projects. I got my regular little air sprayer. This is really good for getting sawdust off of me. And then of course the MVP, the tire inflator. I get a lot of flat tires, use this all the time. But here is the problem. My air tools live over here in this toolbox in a drawer called air tools. And my hose for my air compressor goes up the wall through the attic to this reel and lives over here. What normally happens is something like this little blower is attached and just lives on the hose as it belongs. And I need to switch it out with something else, maybe to inflate some tires. So what I do is I take this off and I hang it like maybe right here with this little hook, or I put it right up here so it's right next to where it needs to go. And then I promptly lose it. I've recently bought 3 of those because 2 of them are actually lost somewhere in the garage. So I want something right here to store and organize all of my air tools. And this isn't a new phenomenon. This is pretty common. People have come up with lots of different solutions. The most common solution is this. People just use an extra air fitting. They'll mount it on the wall, or they'll mount it with some other ones. You can just plug your extra tools in right here. And that's fine, that's cool. People have done it before. These things are actually getting pricey. They're like $5 to $10 a piece now. And I'd have to buy a bunch of them, and I'd have to do some welding, or I'd have to use wood and do some painting and sanding. And I'm not a great woodworker, but I do have a 3D printer. So I think we're going to design and 3D print something to hold my 3 favorite air tools right next to the air reel. And good news, if this works, the file will be in the description below, so you can download it. If you have a 3D printer, you can print it out yourself. If you don't have a 3D printer and you want it, you can send it to a service, they'll print it out and mail it to you. And yeah, let's see if this works, or if I'm drinking a pickle beer. I've been doing a little bit of 3D printing, and we are back with my Zero to Awesome air tool holder, custom made to fit on this tiny little wall in my garage. And we've got a few more exciting design features, such as things were actually measured to very precisely fit the exact 3 things I wanted to hang. If I ever try to hang anything else, this isn't gonna work and it's gonna have to be reprinted. But these actually, they fit really, really nice in here. And if you notice, there's 2 holes for drywall screws, which wasn't planned that way, but it's perfect because, well, looks like I actually only have 2 drywall screws left. So let's get this thing on the wall. Also, well, we're in the neighborhood. If you're ever curious if your vintage Volkswagen sign was authentic or not, you could check the spelling of the word Volkswagen. This one is not accurate. That's nice, look at that. Wow, look how nice this is. And it was designed with some rails that go down at an angle and then bottom out into a cup at the bottom. So the parts just slide in there and then hang on the wall. They won't fall out, they won't slide out. If you live somewhere earthquake prone, you don't have to worry that your tire inflator is gonna fall off the wall during an earthquake. So that'll be available in the link in the description down below. It's a free file. Print it out yourself, edit it if you want to add more storage to it, space them out, make them closer together. You can print it out yourself, you can send it to service, have printed. So we actually accomplished quite a few things. We fixed the air compressor. We actually organized our air tools, so hopefully I stop losing them. And I've just accomplished too much. I think the only thing left to do is go to the hardware store and buy more drywall screws. So until next time, that's where I'll be.